So over the years I've been getting lots of questions about my behind the scenes videos, and I like to think that they've now become almost my unique selling point and what kind of makes me unique. And so I've been getting a lot of questions over the years since we started doing these 2 years ago about how does the editing process happen, how much planning goes involved, what gear do we use and all this stuff. So I say we because I couldn't do it without the help of my cinematographer Mike. So Mike, thanks very much for agreeing to give this little talk. I know that you're used to obviously being behind the camera, but thanks for being in front of the camera to give this little talk. For those of you that don't know, Mike has been responsible for filming almost every single behind the scenes video that you've seen on my YouTube channel has come from Mike. So we're going to talk about all the geek stuff and all the gear stuff. But before we get into that, I want to know first, Mike, when you kind of got into freelancing. So what was your kind of approach? How did you kind of start and become a full-time cinematographer?
So it was around the time when I was at school. For my GCSEs, I chose photography as one of my subjects. My dad had always been into photography, and it was something that I sort of found really interesting. Was always like picking up his cameras around the house and having a little shoot. Like I know you've said similar with you picking up at a young age. Yeah. And then through photography at school, I passed that, went on to my A levels, and I purchased my first camera. And with my camera, I realised that it had a video mode on it. So it was one of those things that I flicked it to that, had a little play. Some of the stuff I shot was awful, but we've watched it back sometimes. Just having like a laugh and looking back at old stuff. And then there was a group of friends at school who I now run a company with called Catch That Films. We all met at school and all had a love for film. So that was my sort of like outlet for starting to make films. And I was doing that whilst doing part-time work in the evenings after sixth form. And then it just picked up, and eventually we started to did like what everyone sort of does, makes your social media accounts, and through that we started to realize we had like a small little fan base. And then I sort of thought to myself, well, maybe this is more than just a hobby that I initially thought it was going to be. And in the very last year of sixth form, there was a project that was basically you can do anything you want revolving photography. So I thought I'm going to try and see what it's like starting up my own business and working for myself, and use that as one of the modules. And then it was through that I actually met you, because as I just sort of started this up, you were shooting a video for an artist, and I remember you sort of put out on social media that you needed somebody to come and help do like basically be a camera operator.
How long ago was that now?
Oh, that must have been about 5 years ago, I think now.
Is that 5 years?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, I think. It's been a long time.
It was just a Facebook status, wasn't it? I put out asking.
My girlfriend, her best friend was mutual friends with you. So basically through a mutual friend, we ended up sort of speaking. And then I remember, I came down to shoot the video for you.
That's right, yeah. What was you were using? What camera was you using back then?
A Canon 550D, so a crop sensor Canon.
Yeah, but you were shooting. I remember you shot everything in auto as well back then.
Yeah, those were the days.
I can't believe that was only 5 years ago. You were shooting in like complete auto.
Yeah, everything auto ISO. Every setting was on auto, and I thought that was fine. I thought that was how it worked. I was like, oh, this is great. It's going really well. Because
I remember getting the footage back from your camera, because I had it was 3 operators, including myself and someone else and you. And I remember getting your footage back, and I remember like when it went into like this light, but in the background, it just then went like really dark. And I was like, I think he's shooting in auto.
And I think when you approached me about it, I was like, yeah, I'm shooting auto, not even realising what an idiot I was back then. But yeah. Oh,
it's so funny looking back now. But now, obviously, so you weren't a full-time freelancer at that point, though, were you?
So I was still sort of working at Tesco's. I think I was just coming to the point of finishing school. So it was that transition period where I finished in school and thinking, right, what is it that I now want to do? And I carried on working at Tesco's for about 4 months whilst I was building up my portfolio. Around that time, we did a lot of work together. You took me on like under your wing. We did a lot of jobs together. And then I think it was about sort of when it hit the 6-month mark after finishing school. I think that was at the point I'd picked up enough clients, done enough work for myself, built a portfolio that I felt. Don't get me wrong, I was nervous, but felt ready to go full-time freelance. And it was a slow start.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it was for me. I remember my first 6 months freelancing. I actually thought about going back to my job because I thought I'm just not earning enough, and I was like really worried that, you know, is this for me? Am I going to have to go back? But I think, like the same as you, I think every business starts slow and it's just gradually builds and builds. Was it the same with you?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, I've got to thank my parents a lot because they helped support me a lot through that time.
Yeah.
But then obviously things eventually started picking up, and I don't know why, just all of a sudden the phone started ringing, and you know, people were coming through, and it all picked up then. And so that was about, I think that was about 2.5, 3 years ago that I officially took the step to become full-time freelance. And it was definitely through, you know, obviously the help with you. I remember we had a lot of phone calls because I think you had gone full-time freelance maybe about a year before that, or 6 months.
Yeah, that's right.
You were sort of the one giving me the push, saying, "Yeah, you should do it," because I remember being a little bit nervous.
Well, what was funny was, but even though you were part-time, you were doing your taxes because you were part-time Tesco's, but also still doing the odd shoot before you went full-time freelance. So I was giving you advice about business, but you were giving me advice about doing your taxes because I hadn't yet done it yet, because I went full freelance and then did the taxes, and then was like, what the hell is this? Like, doing your taxes is just a nightmare each year, isn't it? Talking about the first behind-the-scenes video we did, or I should say, the ballet wasn't technically the first one, was it?
No, it wasn't. There was one more before that.
There was one more before that, and it is actually on my YouTube channel. It's buried.
You still got it live?
It's actually still live. I checked this morning when we were about to come and do this. I thought, I wonder if that is actually still alive, and it actually still is. So I'm going to leave it live. So if you want to go check it out, go and check it out. I think it's called A Typical Portrait Shoot. I just called it, but it's not great.
Not our finest work.
No. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to create a behind-the-scenes video because I thought that would be a really cool thing to show the creative process. I mean, behind-the-scenes video isn't exactly new nowadays, but I wanted to do it because I had never done it on my channel before. Yeah. And I thought it would be cool during it to talk about all the gear that I'm using, but the music I used as well was kind of a bit.
It was a bit vloggy sort of, wasn't it?
It was very vloggy. It was very vloggy. It wasn't, and I realised that I wasn't getting getting a mass audience watching it. I wanted loads of people to watch this and enjoy it. But because I kept talking endlessly about the gear, I realised that was one mistake from the video. It kind of
became a bit of half behind the scenes, half tutorial, didn't it?
Yeah.
To the point where it didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And it was a bit like, oh.
It was, exactly. It was a hybrid. It needed to be kind of one or the other. And so we kind of took that video, we looked at it and thought, all right, how can we make this better? So we said, let's just try and make something look as cinematic as possible, and let's get better music as well. And then that's when I decided to do personal projects. That's kind of when the whole personal project thing came around for me, when I said, let's do something that isn't for a client, let's do something for us. So I had the idea of doing a ballet shoot, which was shot right here in this room, actually 2 years ago, last month that we shot that. So that's a reason why I wanted to shoot this little talk here, because it's quite nostalgic, because you haven't been here since we filmed that quite 2 years ago. So after we did the ballet one, after we had learnt from all the mistakes that we made in the first one, and we did the ballet one, I don't know about you, but when we released it online, I noticed a tremendous amount more what's the word?
Engagement.
Yeah. I noticed a hell of a lot more engagement, and because you had filmed it a little bit more cinematically, and we cut out all the talking until the very end, it kind of made it more engaging without even me realising how better it was going to be, how much more better it was going to be. A lot more people started to engage with it more, and that's when I think I realised that this is the format that we need to keep now, and it needs to stay.
Because I think that with the ballet shoot, in comparison to the one we did before, the ballet shoot sort of suits everyone, really, doesn't it? Because you've got your nice shots, for photographers you can see exactly what's going on, but for everybody else who doesn't necessarily want to know about the gear or want to know about this and that, they can just watch it and enjoy it for investing in your personality and your style, and instead of having to listen to what we would find interesting talking about the gear. Obviously that's not everyone's cup of tea. There was a lot of videos that I saw online, like doing some research before we shot ours, and people would show the setting up, and they would show them taking the photo, but you'd never see the final product.
Oh, that always annoyed me. It's like in a film, like you see the beginning, middle, and you never see the end. Like you don't have that closure. It's like you see, okay, now I've seen the setup, but now I want to see the photo, and it's almost like it's redundant until you see the photo. And that was actually something I picked up when I was looking into behind the scenes of how I can make mine better than ones that I had seen online. It's like, well, show the photo, or they might show it right at the very end, and you might forget, well, which setup was for that photo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because for some people, like they might look at when the photo comes up, and then look at your lighting setup, and sort of think, that's how he's done it, and you can see it that way.
I mean, because I just basically thought I want to make a behind the scenes video that I would want to watch.
Yeah.
Something that's engaging, exciting, informative. You can kind of pick up the lighting setup. I just basically wanted to make one that I wanted to make. So I'm just glad that the format seems to be working with the style that we've got. But
and I think that's probably another reason why they do so well, is because it's exactly like you're saying. You're not working for a client. You're doing exactly how you want to do it. So you're making the video that you want to make, and I think that comes across. Like people can clearly see that it's not, it's not. You're not being super formal on set, and it's like because some of these other ones you see that they're so overproduced that it doesn't even look enjoyable. But whenever you see these ones, you're just having a laugh on set, like all the people, all the models you've got in are laughing and joking. It's just fun.
Well, I think that's. I spoke about it at the photography show this year. Unfortunately, you couldn't make it, but I mentioned on one of the stages that the importance of behind the scenes, and I think that having a behind the scenes, it shows my personality and would show anyone else's personality. Not even just a video. I spoke about how even just having a behind the scenes picture, even just a picture, and you can even see in how the person is posed, or they might be mid-laugh. Like even a picture can say just as much as some videos. So that's why I think they work really well, because it shows the personality, it shows the engagement, it shows. I think that's what got me to work and be affiliated with Pixapro, and how we've been able to gain work from them because of our behind the scenes videos. I said it in the photography show that without our behind the scenes videos, we wouldn't be affiliated with them and work with them, because they said that we wouldn't have taken a chance on you unless we saw your behind the scenes videos. And that's why, coming to back to what you're saying about style, I think that the reason why I keep coming to you and just not using anyone else who's available on the day, the reason why...
I'm cheap.
Well, what? No.
I'm joking, I'm mucking around.
No, but because your style is also has become my brand, if you like. So even though you're the one filming, people associate, I guess, your filming style with my behind the scenes videos, because you are the one that films them all. And I think that's a good thing to stress out, to stress to the importance of that. If anyone's thinking of doing this, it's good to work with the same people in your team. Obviously, it's you're only as good as your team, they say. And I believe that you are the most important asset to my business, because no one can shoot the way you shoot, or I can tell someone, but it will never be the same. They might have a different camera, first of all, let alone style. So that's why I think that's another reason why the videos are as good as they are, because I keep using you because of your style. So everyone feels like it's come from the same hand. So that's why I think it's another important factor. And I would say that would be a thing for people watching, is that working with the same people in team, and not even just cinematographers, but even if you're using the same runner or the same DIT, even these little things can just help make a shoot flow better, even if it's a simple job. And not to say that a runner is a simple job, but having the same set of faces on set. I mean, you must know this from I feel like my photo shoots are getting bigger and bigger, and you must know that from working in film, of the importance of working in a close-knit team. I mean, obviously you work with the same guys when you shoot your short films, so you know kind of everyone's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I think that's what's made, again, another reason what makes it, because I know where your weaknesses and your strengths lie, and I play to that, and I know what can be achieved. So I think that's another reason what makes, I think, these really cool. But shall we talk about gear?
Yeah, go on then.
I think everyone wants to hear about gear. So what would be if you could list the things that you always bring to one of my behind the scenes shoots, regardless of where it is or what the brief is, what's things that you will always bring with you?
So I always pack a tripod, a slider, a glide cam, a shoulder rig as well. I've got shaky hands, so it stabilises my shots. A microphone, just in case we do want to get any off the cuff pieces. And my 24-105 lens. That is definitely the go-to out of all the lenses that I've got. That if I could only bring one on a shoot, it would always be that.
And why that lens in particular?
Mainly the focal length. So it's a fantastic focal length. It's, you know, if you could only shoot with one lens all day, for me, I feel like that's got the coverage. You know, you're not super wide, but you've got a wide there, and you've got a close up, and you've got everything else in between. Yeah, I get it's an f4. It's, you know, for stills it might not be great, but for video that's fine. You can push it a little bit more.
I think we got it here.
Here's one I made earlier.
Cheers, Cassie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is actually my 24-105. It's a little bit battered, as you can see.
Oh my gosh.
I was doing a wedding once, and it got dropped on the floor.
Have you glued that together?
Yeah, that's glued. Yeah, mate, DIY, it's easy. The fact that it's got image stabilisation as well is super handy for, you know, if you've been shooting all day and you start to get a bit tired, you can cheat and just put it on.
Well, I think if you're shooting video, you're not going to want to shoot at 1.4 anyway. If you are shooting a moving subject,
exactly.
So
exactly.
I agree with you. I think the 24-105 is one of is in my opinion the best video lens. For that reason. So
obviously within budgets, you know, if we
sure.
have a super budget, then
don't
get
me
wrong, I'd like to be shooting on something else. But for what you know, for what we've got and stuff, this will suit me more. I'd be more than happy. So
you said that you started with a 550D, but when you started shooting my stuff, you had already upgraded your camera. What did you have?
Yeah, so I was shooting on a 5D Mark III. Which worked well because obviously you have a 5D Mark III as well. So if ever we shot anything where we needed two cameras, it was great. We could use both files and just change.
And then you decided to buy a new camera, which I was very happy about. So what have you got now?
So I now own a Sony FS5, which is like a little baby brother to the FS7.
Which is amazing. It's what's filming us right now on this slider. But you've got what slider do you use at the moment? So
currently, well, thank you, Cassie. So this is the one that I'm using at the moment. I purchased this. This is a Canova K5. Purchased this just before we went to Iceland. I did it a bit rushed though, and then when we were
tell us about that, Mike.
Yeah, so this was a bit of a rush purchase before Iceland. I just got myself a new tripod, and then I thought, let's get a new slider for Iceland as well. And then it didn't actually fit in my suitcase. No matter how many ways I tried to go, I was slotting it in sideways.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was thinking about snapping it and making it back together, but yeah, it didn't. It just wouldn't fit.
You ended up just taking your old one, didn't you?
Yeah, so my old battered slider, which I've still got today, but it's just it's not great. But
this is your kind of go-to for for those sliding shots in the behind-the-scenes videos.
Exactly. Yeah. It's because of the length of it. It's super heavy, so I wouldn't recommend using this one on one tripod. This does really need two tripods to keep it mounted. Otherwise, you start to get that tilted side. But yeah, and because it's got the feet, this is just fantastic because it means I can get on the floor and, you know, chuck a 14 on and get a super wide shot.
Nice. So you use the slider and use a glide cam, you say?
Yeah. So I use a glide cam as well. So we do a little swap. Thank you, Cassie.
So what model is this?
Now the stickers come off. This again, a lot of my gear is pretty battered. It goes through the ropes a bit, but I think this is a glide cam. Yeah, I'm not even going to pretend I know the exact model. I can't remember. It was about £250 off of Amazon. You know, they do better ones now.
Well, if I find the link, I'll leave it in the description below.
I think let's call it a glide cam HD.
Was it 2000?
2000 or 2050, something like that.
I've got the 4000.
Yeah, so I think this was the 2000 or 250.
If we find the link, and we'll leave all the links to all of Mike's gear in the description below. How often would you use this on behind the scenes shoots?
So when I first got it, obviously this is one of the things that is really, I don't want to say specialist, but it's something that it takes a bit of practice to get used to.
Yeah.
Especially setting it up.
Yeah.
That can be so difficult.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, I would use it very sparingly. Mainly out of worry that the shots wouldn't be as stable as I was hoping for.
Yeah.
And looking back, especially at the one before the ballet shoot.
Yeah, you've come on a little bit.
That was awful, yeah.
Was you even using the Steadicam there?
I was, but we were using it like upside down. And it was just all shaky and horrible.
I remember that shot.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Yeah, you've improved your skills since that video.
But exactly, so that just goes to show that it's one of those things that you do need to practice with a bit.
Yeah. The movement just looks so cinematic. Of all the pieces we have, I think the Steadicam and the sliders are my favourite shots. Most people will go for it, will have a tripod, and while it's essential, it's not the most cinematic movement compared to other specialist pieces of equipment, as we're calling them, such as this and the slider. So when I have shots that you've shot on this that I can use, I'm very excited to use them.
Yeah. Another thing that we try to do though is try to use the shots only when they're needed, not trying to overuse a particular piece of equipment. Yeah. So, like the big charging Steadicam shots, like we sort of use them on like a particular point on the beat of the music. Yeah. Because otherwise, it gets to the point otherwise that you're using it just for the sake of using it. Mm-hmm. And every move should have motivation behind it.
No, I think there's always a good balance. Yeah. In the behind the scenes because you would just do a bunch of slider shots and then a bunch of Steadicam shots and then a bunch of shoulder rig shots that Cass is going to pass over for us. And then so that gives me a nice mix. But this is probably something that I see you using a lot.
Nice demonstration there, Cassie.
That's how you do it. Nicely modelled. It's like Bruce's Price is Right, isn't it?
Yeah, I do feel a bit like QVC now, like all the equipment coming out.
It does feel a bit like it. You can buy this. How much? Wow. Tell us more about it, Mike.
We just need like a little spinning cake wheel, so it's just like spinning around and everyone can see it.
Spin it on my head.
Yeah. All right, behind the camera.
Yeah. Stay behind the camera.
Oh man, I've been in front of the camera 5 minutes. I've got the greed. I'm hungry for it.
Yeah. Telling Cassie like, get behind the camera. Earlier you were like, where's my water? No, you weren't. So this is your go-to shoulder rig.
Yeah, this is my go-to shoulder rig. Nothing overtly fancy about it, and I know you've got one that you use. It's another Film City brand, but
mine is super basic. Mine's when I do, obviously I don't film as much as you, but when I do, I just have a really basic 30-pound rig, which was funny when we did a shoot for a singer-songwriter Nick Howard. We shot a music video for Nick Howard, and one of his videos, Untouchable. It was really funny. We had hired the Canon 1DC, and we were going to use our friend Derek's shoulder rig, and it didn't fit properly because of the the gear wouldn't attach to it because the 1DC has a built-in battery grip. So we ended up using this. So this is my shoulder rig that I use, nicely modelled by my sister Cassandra. So this is, look, that is like 30 quid off Amazon, but it's one of my cheapest and most reliable purchases I've made.
It doesn't matter how expensive it is. You find that comfortable. That's how you can operate.
Yeah, because when it's on the when it's on my shoulder here, it can just balance and I can just chill here. And what's funny, so we had a really fancy rig for the 1DC for Nick Howard's shoot, and we couldn't use it, could we? Because it wouldn't fit. So I had this in the car. So we were using a £10,000 camera on a £30 bit of plastic. Cheers, Cass.
Oh God.
But obviously, so with the advantage with this, you've got a little weight on the back to distribute it.
And to be honest with you, it's just the way I prefer shooting. I just prefer having the camera there and having two handles. Whereas I found when I tried to use your one that, it doesn't matter what the cost is, it doesn't matter what the price is. It's just, unfortunately, I just found it wasn't
too closed in
to operate. Yeah. So it's all, anyone can recommend you any piece of equipment, but it's all about what you find more comfortable and. And
sure.
For me, this was it, and the fact that I can mount a follow focus on here if I need to.
Yeah.
I've got space on the back to mount things. It was just, for me, this is most suitable.
Cool. So leads us on to the last bit of equipment. Your hench tripod.
Absolute base.
Cheers, Cassie. Thank you. Yeah. So
That is massive, mate. And this was, again, you bought this right before we went to Iceland, didn't we?
yeah. So this wasn't as much of an impulse buy as the slider was.
No,
I've
I
been
remember
researching this for a while.
Yeah, I remember you talking to me about this. I love our shot, our like team shot with our friend Jimmy, of all of us with our own pieces of equipment. Like I had the softbox, you had the Miller tripod. I mean, this is solid. I've never seen a better tripod. Going with the advantage of the new camera, so now in our with our behind the scenes videos going forward, we now have a great luxury of shooting at high frames per second now, don't we?
Yeah, up to 200 frames.
Which we did. By the time this goes out, we'll only have had one, which is the
Gravity
Pix Pro Gravity backdrops go out, and we can now finally shoot at 50 frames a second at full HD.
Yeah,
which
we weren't luxury now, isn't it?
Which we weren't able to do on the 5D Mark IIIs, which was really nice. Yeah, so that is kind of your essential go-to gear.
Yeah, and you know, it's a tripod. What more can you sort of say? But for me, it's essential on set. It's so needed. And some of the lenses that I use now don't have image stabilization, for example. So I want them to be really smooth. And you know, you can't beat going back to the old tripod. I know we've got a steady cam and a slider, but this does come in handy a hell of a lot on set.
All right, so that's all the gear. So I've got a few questions from the internet that people have been asking you. Here we go, baby.
Okay.
Okay. Does Tommy give you any direction before the shoot, or a shot list, or some kind of idea of what he wants, or do you just wing it and go for the experience?
He's useless. He gives me nothing to work with.
Shut up, Mike.
No, it's definitely a collaborative thing. Like we will always, before a shoot, we'll always meet up, or even if we have a phone conversation or something, just sort of go for it, like what we're trying to get out of it. And then on the day, I'd say it's sort of half winged, half not. There's a lot of the time where I'll just sort of off the cuff grab a little bit here, there, but we'll sort of say in any particular shots that we know we want.
Yeah.
So for a couple of them, like I can remember off the top of my head now, at the farm shoot, we wanted your laptop opening up. Like you knew that before we went in there, so that was like on a shot list ready to go.
Yeah.
But then everything else, because of the nature of what it is just off the cuff, being like a documentary in a sense.
But I also think it's, again, because of the relationship that we have, and because we've worked together for so long, you kind of already know what I want, and just obviously basing it off of the previous behind the scenes, you know, you probably have in your head, like, I need to at least get some shots on this thing, or I need to, or the balance between how getting shots of the model and then getting shots of me photographing using the equipment. Do you, or am I talking bullshit?
No, not at all. That's exactly it. Like I'll think in my head, you know, there's no perfect ratio. But if I've been filming the model for a little bit, then I think, right, you know, I have to get some shots of you to match. And then, for example, have to make sure I get a wide establishing of each setup. Because even if we're in the same location, obviously, each time we'll do a different setup and we'll move things. So it's just, you know, not being formulaic, but just realising there's a couple of little points that you have to hit. Like just to get a general grounding of it. And then everything else in between is just bonus. And it's just great if you can get this and try and experiment with this here and stuff.
I think that's good advice for any wannabe filmmakers who are doing a job similar to this, is, as you said, using your initiative, and with the gear that you have, getting a variety of the shots, because obviously the more variety, the more you've got to play with in the edit. Whereas in this case, you don't actually edit the behind the scenes. I actually take your footage, don't I?
If I was editing these, mate, you wouldn't have them. I'm so slow at editing.
Are you really?
I haven't even done the Iceland video yet.
Mate, have you not?
No, it's been like 7. What has it been? No,
it's coming up to a year.
Coming up to a year.
It's a year this month. We went to Iceland, September. We left in September because we were told in STA Travel that it's a good shoulder month to go in September.
Yeah, best time to see the Northern Lights, apparently.
Yeah. Well, no, we got well lucky, didn't we?
Yeah, we did actually. That was pretty amazing. But yeah, still not. I mean, all the clips are laid out. I've done the best bits of each day.
No way.
But yeah, I just haven't got around to it.
I mean, I'm just excited because I want to get it online, and by me editing the footage, it feels like it's still come from my hand. So I get as much involvement in the process because I'm taking your footage and editing it. But How does so when I've done an edit, what's kind of the process that happens?
So you'll always say to me, once it's done, we always like to have like both look at the first draft and have a little talk and discussion about, oh, what about if this changed and that changed. But for me, it's a lot of people aren't happy to give their rushes over. I know that a lot of people like to keep it and like to do their edit themselves. But I think everyone's got their own role for a reason. That's why when you show me a final draft, I'm always so excited to see it.
Cool.
And it's so excited that I don't have to do the boring editing process. That's already done. So then after we've sort of spoken about any points that we had, any changes, etc., you'll go away, do them. We'll do a final viewing, and then once we're happy, it goes up on the social media.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's a good process. I think it's a good.
Yeah, it works really well. It's nice, and obviously I hope that from your end, it's nice that you get some feedback, because when you're editing something, sometimes there's bits that you just can't see that you think, like, where you've just looked at the same footage so much, it all looks the same, doesn't it? But then having a fresh pair of eyes to look at it might help, and just see another angle that you're maybe not seeing. Well,
especially when I'm getting feedback from the person who filmed it as well, because you're going to notice things that I might not have noticed, or there's going to be a shot that might be a little bit wobbly, and I just don't notice it. And it's not until you notice it, I go, oh yeah, why didn't I notice that? So that's why we always do that, which I think is always a good thing too. Was it your first draft's never your final draft?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so the next question I've got, I think you kind of answered this, but if you're shooting on a shoulder rig, would you choose a wide angle lens, or would you go for a 35mm or 50mm prime? Would that do the trick for shadow depth of field?
Personally, for me, there's no real right answer to that question. There's no one particular focal length that I know I'll have to use on a shoulder rig. It all just sort of depends on what's in front of me. So there's been times where I have used like a 14mm and used it on the shoulder rig. It might seem a bit, why would you do that? It's such a wide angle lens. But then there's other times when you want an extreme close up, so I'll use the 70 to 200. For me, I can't really say that there's one definitive focal length. That
is it just your personal preference?
Personal preference, really, and what you feel will suit what's going on. Like, if you're looking at that, and you think, I know that needs a close up, then grab a lens that you can get a close up with.
Cool.
Personal advice doesn't matter really.
No, fair enough. How many gigabytes of footage do you typically go through on an average behind the scenes video?
How many gigabytes of footage? I mean, the cards I've got are all 32 gigabytes. Yeah. I suppose it's usually 2 I give you, really, isn't it? About two cards, maybe a maximum 3.
Yeah, it's no more than 2. Because another question was also carrying on from that is like how much footage do you typically give me? And I think it's dependent on the shoot, isn't it?
Yeah, because some shoots we do are like 3 hours. By the time we actually start the filming, like after the setting up process is done. Some shoots are 6. I'd say maybe about an hour's worth of footage. Do you reckon that's right? I mean, that's probably. I
think it's about an hour.
You probably know better than I do because you're looking through the rushes.
Yeah, it would be about an hour because you're not a fly on the wall. You're not filming everything. It's not like a wedding or filming someone's speeches. You're filming cinematically, and so you're not going to film on a slider for half an hour, are you? You're not going to do that unless you're doing an interview. You're getting cinematic shots, so I'm going to get lots of 10, 20-second shots, which are all from a movement going from A to B. I don't think I have more than an hour. So it's actually fairly easy for me to scrub through and make a quick edit because I want to get them online as quick as I can. And so sometimes they can be online almost within a week.
Don't get me wrong, when I was using my old slider, you probably got about 2 hours worth of footage because half of it used to just shake like that as I was sliding across.
I actually remember there is some rushes where you're just going, oh, fuck. It's like, oh, shit. It's like, fuck it.
Yeah, I know I said gear doesn't matter, but don't ever buy that slider. It's just god awful.
If you weren't a filmmaker, what would you be doing? If you could do anything else other than filmmaking, what would you be doing?
Oh, God. That's a hard question. Do you know, not wanting to sound too ridiculous, I haven't actually ever thought about that.
Really?
Yeah, I've from an age where where you sort of realise you need to start sort of choosing a career path and choosing a place to go. I've always known that it's like within the area of media. So initially photography, and then film, and now, you know, it is film. I haven't really ever given much thought to what else I would do. That's it. Yeah, that's stumped me, that question. That's a really hard one. What about yourself? What is, you know, is there anything that, if you weren't a photographer, filmmaker?
Whose interview is this?
This is yours, mate. I'm changing the game. What's going on? You know.
Do you know what? I think I would be the same. I've known for forever that I've always wanted to, ever since I was like 7 years old and I picked up my first camera. I knew I wanted to do something to do with media, to do with either photography or filmmaking. There's a nice hybrid there. I first wanted to be a filmmaker and then kind of transitioned to doing more photography full time. And you did the opposite, which is really interesting. I mean,
it's a hard question, isn't it?
Something to do with traveling. And that's why I love to travel. I'm trying to combine all my hobbies and interests. So something to do with traveling. You can't really just say that though. So I don't think I have an answer either. Yeah. I would be the same as you.
Good question.
Okay, last couple of questions. What's been the funniest moment you've had shooting on one of the behind the scenes? Is there any moment that's kind of stuck out?
Yeah, but none that I can say on camera.
Is there any
PG moments?
Any PG moments that have happened?
Without sounding too corny, it's always pretty good fun.
Yeah.
There's after each shoot, me and Tom have like a little ritual, don't we, where we play Bastille of the Night.
Oh yeah.
That's like, for me, that's always like a little personal achievement. Like that's a fun moment for me every time after the shoot. I know that we're going to do that.
We always listen to Bastille on the drive home, and we always go for Nando's afterwards. That's traditional. And another traditional thing, what we do is afterwards, because I edit all the footage, you're sat in the passenger seat with my laptop up here, transferring all the footage to my hard drive, with the hard drive balanced in there, power cable up here, transferring all the footage so that I've got it and you're not without a card at the end of that drive. Yeah. That's kind of our little thing. Funniest moment that was probably caught on film is just in probably the lake when I physically got inside the lake, and when Liam, our runner for the day, my lighting assistant for the day, he was in what are they called? Waders. So he was in the lake, and he was in there for about half an hour. Yeah. And like I was only in there for 10 minutes, and I was whining like a bitch after 10 minutes, like, oh, it's really cold in here. And then Liam's not made a peep for like half an hour. He's like, getting a bit cold now. Yeah. But then when he finally got out, his waders, it was covered because he went too far. Like he was like neck high, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So
it was funny because the way the water came out, it looked like he put on about 5 stone going into the water. And then he just came out. The water was just going everywhere.
But before we even knew that, we pulled him out, and I thought he said, "Can you give me a hand?" I was like, all right, like, come on, Liam, you can pull yourself out.
You're a big lad.
Yeah, and I pulled him out and then realised why, because he was carrying like 5 stone of water in his waders.
Yeah, that was actually a really, really funny moment. That was good. Yeah.
That was a good moment.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all my questions, Mike. I'm going to finish it with some quick fire questions. Quick round. Favourite TV show?
Oh, that's so tough. I'll give you 2. I'll give you my favourite comedy.
Go on.
Which is, I think it shows a lot about my personality. Always Sunny in Philadelphia for a comedy.
Yep, that's you.
Yeah. And then I think in terms of drama, maybe True Detective Series 1.
That
was a real poignant show for me. That was something that really stuck out.
It's like little mini films, wasn't it? Every episode.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and it was just the way, everything about it, the story, the way it was shot. It just like I was just gripped from start to finish the whole way through.
That's McConaughey.
Yeah, McConaughey. Yeah, I'll let you do the accent. You can do it better than me.
You sure you don't want to try it?
No.
Are you a morning or night person?
I'd say night person, definitely.
I think most creatives are, aren't they?
Yeah. It's not that, I can get up early in the morning and fine, I'm not miserable, but I'm one of these people that I tend to like get ready to go to bed, and then something will pop in my mind about something I've got to do, or like an edit I've got to do, or something like that. And I'll just grab my laptop and I'll be up to about 4 o'clock in the morning. And
I'm the same. Yeah. It's the worst. Like, oh, I just need to write that note on my phone. I was supposed to watch that YouTube video. I was supposed to reply to that email.
And
I'm
then
the
one
same.
thing just leads into another,
Yep.
isn't it? Yeah. I hate myself for it, but it's just one of those things.
No, fair enough. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
And favourite chocolate?
Favourite chocolate? Oh, I feel like I've got to say something interesting. Like, I can't just say Cadbury's, that's boring.
No, if that's your favourite.
No. Come on, let me think.
Is it your favourite?
That's my favourite.
Shut it.
Quite fond for a Ferrero Rocher.
Favourite chocolate? Oh, it's got to be a Mars bar, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Mars bar?
Yeah, Mars bar.
Fair enough.
What was that? What was that look for? What was that about?
Mars bar is...
From it.
Mars bar I think's the worst. Like when you get a celebration tin, Mars bar is like the ones that I always leave. And Bounty and Mars are always the ones that get left at Christmas.
Milky Way?
Milk.
Oh, mate, what sort of shit? What do you eat then?
I devour all the Galaxies and the Maltesers.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes they throw occasional Twix in there. Twix is a pretty good one.
Not too bad. Yeah. I'll do that.
All right, so I think that's pretty much it. That is all my questions answered. Thanks very much, Mike, for... I don't know why I've turned all formal
Yeah.
there. Thank you, sir. Until the next behind the scenes.
Good joust.
Right, let's get out of it.
Yeah. Did you have any questions?
No, I think you've got everything covered.
Is that all good?
Yep.
Right, shall we go for Nando's?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
My ass is so...
I know, it's so bony.
Oh my god.
Oh, doggy.
Hold up. What's the time?
Mike, you're shit.
We haven't got any water or anything, have we?
Wait, lads, do you want some crisps?
Get them out of it!
How we doing?
Pat us down.
How you doing, mate? There you go. It's fine.
Mate, I could get used to this.
How are you, all right?
I've been constantly having thoughts about this chair snapping during the shot. I've actually almost wanted it to happen.
And then I just go, next question, Mike.
Yeah. Yes, son.
Lads.
Lads
on tour.
Lads on tour.
We are the most unladdie people we have met, the losers.
I mean, Iceland trip was just, that wasn't...
That was lads.
Do you know, our Iceland trip is the closest to a lads holiday I've ever had. And that's really sad, isn't it? I've never gone...
Alright, mate. Oh, mate, I'm on so much of banging. Have you got, like, not now, but when we finish, have you got any of the other little snacks left?
You fuck yourself.
How deep are you? You got any other snacks for me?
No, I said just
Have
one
you got any
drink.
preferences?
No preferences.
I ain't got water for you, mate.
Yeah, fuck you.
Drink my piss.
Drink my piss, Jesus. Mate, you should be filming her, she's the real talent. I'm nothing. Drink my piss. Christ.
Where did...
Cup up my blood, sweat and tears. Drink that.
Ash your gums.
Alright.
Ash your gums. We roll.
That's it then.
Right, we got...
Can't skip it.
Shut up.
Time's ticking.
3 o'clock. Let's go, boys.
Oh shit, yeah, we better scoot.